and everybody's
Okay.
like, what does that mean? Like, what is
How would I
Indigenous
do it?
knowledge? How do I do it? I'm kind of lost here.
Are we damming up the water, or are we, trying to dredge a river? What are we doing, and what would it mean for our grandchildren's grandchildren? Well, hi, Bazile. It's so great to see you.
Hey there. Yeah, great to see you as well. Thanks for having me on the podcast today.
We talked about a month ago and scheduled this interview, and I was really excited
Yeah,
to be able to bring, your understanding, your experience, all the possibilities you represent for how communities can get along, and to talk about your background and what you do for the viewers of our channel. So you have designed your life in a very interesting way with your background and with the contribution you make. And I love that people will see, wow, is this a possibility for what they do with their lives? So, okay. So as we get started, you are part of the Red Cliff Band of Lake Superior, Chippewa.
Mhm.
Your Indigenous Native American heritage is part and parcel of the work that you do in the world now. You're a liaison for tribal communities, for business leaders, parks and land management, various entities that are engaged in activities of the land or around interaction with tribal communities. And you sort of act as a bridge between the two, right?
Definitely. Yeah, I would say so.
Well, your company is called Good Sky Guidance. That's the super wonderful name. So,
Thanks.
how did you begin that? What inspired you to do that?
Yeah. Yeah, one funny thing about the name, first of all, I was trying to decide between calling it Good Sky Guidance and Good Sky Indigenous Consulting. I thought Indigenous Consulting was a little more professional and
Mm,
just kind of concrete. I
on the
asked my
nose about
lawyer,
what you did, yeah. Mhm.
yeah, but I asked my lawyer about it, and she liked Good Sky Guidance, the more creative one. So I thought that was a good sign.
Yes.
Um,
Guidance seems so friendly.
definitely,
Consulting seems a little dry.
yeah, that's what I try to do in my business. So it was in 2023 during the Biden administration, actually, he had put out a lot of directions to federal agencies that they needed to integrate Indigenous knowledge into their initiatives. And everybody's
Okay.
like, what does that mean? Like, what is
How would I
Indigenous
do
knowledge? How
it?
do I do it? I'm kind of lost here. So immediately I saw this need, and I think it was an emerging thing in the environmental world these past years, even without the Biden administration. But I just saw this need of people are saying that I want to do this, but I don't know how.
Yeah.
And so I kind of step in as that person who knows how and can guide people along the way.
Well, and you work beyond just Chippewa. I mean, you work with tribal communities nationwide. But I'm curious about the indigenous knowledge, the wisdom, their land management practices. Can you share a story about how that sort of translated? I think you might have a story about forest management. So it would sort of paint the picture of how this is actually benefiting all the communities.
For sure. This indigenous knowledge, a phrase that's been used to describe it as traditional ecological knowledge. So
Oh,
this is knowledge that indigenous peoples have built up about the landscape and the knowledge and how to live in harmony with the landscape. So we call it traditional ecological knowledge or TEK. A lot of indigenous people hold TEK within themselves, within their minds, within their memories. The example I'd like to share is I was at a workshop a few years ago with some representatives from the U.S. Forest Service, and there were some tribal members sitting at the table as well. We kind of had this map spread out across the table, kind of like throw everything off, put a map on the table, let's look at it, this forest land. We want to return fire as a land management tool to this landscape, and they're looking at thousands and thousands of acres.
mm,
Where do we do this? We need to spend money here. We need to do research here. We need to put some time and effort, and we need more staff. And
mm,
everybody's just kind of going all at it at once. And this tribal member who's sitting there pretty quietly, he all of a sudden speaks up. Well, my grandma said she used to burn here and pointed to the map at a specific point on the map. And everybody kind of steps back and, oh, wow, let's start there.
Yeah,
So I think that's
there
a
might people that already solved this.
yes, yes, exactly. So there's an example of traditional ecological knowledge that this memory, my grandma used to burn there in this specific spot. So that must be a habitat where fire is needed, must be a great ecosystem
And it's
that
beneficial.
needs that. Yep, definitely. Yeah.
Very good. Well, I know one of the things we talked about before was sort of ancestry knowledge. You know, the grandmother is kind of a perfect example.
Mm,
You, in your liaison work and in sharing the history and wisdom with non-tribal communities, you talk about 7 generations of ancestors, but it's kind of 313, three ancestors from your past, you, and then three ancestors in the future. That's kind of the timeline you're looking at in terms of, how the land is used, how communities are built and managed. Do you want to speak to that perspective? Because it's not a very common sort of modern day or maybe Western perspective.
for sure. Yeah, this seven generations philosophy exists within many indigenous communities in North America. It's the idea of thinking of longevity, the long term of things, how your actions today will either benefit or hurt generations into
The
the
knock-on
future.
effects, right, of what you're doing.
Exactly.
Mhm,
Yeah, exactly. The what is going to happen as a result of your actions.
mhm,
So one way to think of it about it is 7 generations into the future and thinking of them. But another way to think about it is what you mentioned, the 3 generations before me. I am the fourth generation, and then the 3 generations ahead of me.
mhm,
How can I honor those past 3 generations and
mhm.
become an honorable ancestor for those future 3 generations? Because I am right in the middle, and I have the responsibility to take care of the land that has been taken care of my ancestors, take care of it for future generations.
It's a really wonderful perspective, one we don't think of. And I would imagine in terms of things like land management, the effects of where things are planted, where concrete is poured, they have long-term effects. Are we
Hmm.
damming up the water, or are we, trying to dredge a river? What are we doing, and what would it mean for our grandchildren's grandchildren?
Definitely. Yeah, I think Western society seems to be based a lot on the short-term gains and the kind of how can we profit right now, and rather than thinking a long sustainable term. But I see that changing a little bit within the environmental world.
Oh, that's great. Business leaders welcome you into their employee communities sometimes, to give them education about, maybe new land that they're building on, or ways to understand how to get along with the different communities where that business does its business. And so what is it like? What kind of questions do you get when you come in and talk to an employee group about this liaison activity so that they can understand Indigenous perspectives and vice versa? How does that go for you?
Yeah, usually people seem to be pretty excited and open to learning. They do ask a lot of questions, many of which I'm very happy to answer.
Mhm.
Uh, uh, Kind of the basic questions are which terminology do I use? What is respectful to say and to do? And I share some like cultural norms and use the term Native American is what I recommend, or Indigenous is great too.
Mhm.
Kind of talk about ethical engagement and just respecting different cultures and diverse cultures. Another question I get is why? Why do we need to engage with Native American people?
What
And
is
I
the
think
value of it? Yeah.
yeah. Why do we need to do this? Why should we do this? Is this something that we need to be doing? And I think it's pretty simple. I think it's something we can all agree on that as a business, the community is are your stakeholders. The community are your stakeholders, and they have they have a say in your business and the success of it. They can build up your business or they can tear it down because they are your stakeholders, your customers, your employees,
Your
and
neighbors.
even
Mm-hmm.
your neighbors, yep, your siblings, your children, your parents.
Mm-hmm.
So even further, Native American people who have been on this land for tens of thousands of years, they have an even more uh, special relationship with the land that we are doing business on, and they should be consulted with.
Next steps for business. Well, you've worked with universities and museums, federal agencies. I know that there may be some common mistakes or false starts when they first want to engage with you or a tribal community that's local to the area where the business is. Can you give us a quick primer on what not to do? Maybe there's some
Yeah.
things not to do.
Yeah, there's some things not to do, but what I see most often is the organization or this person comes to me and they say that we want to engage with the tribal community on this specific project that we all have already written a grant for. We have already received the money. We have already written out all of the things we will do without any consultation from the tribes
I
themselves.
see.
What needs to happen is we need to consult tribes early and often
Mm,
within these processes, involve them in your grant writing, involve them in your project planning from the beginning. And that can help to, not only is it just good to do that, and well-meaning to do that, but it also will help to not cause mistakes along the way
mm,
in that process.
It won't ruffle feathers because they were included and understood where
Exactly.
some things were going. Well,
Yeah.
many young professionals today want to build careers that are meaningful and sustainable, and you have magically done that. So, can you
Yeah.
share how did it happen? Were you following the footsteps of somebody else, or did you just kind of see the need and fill it? How did this come about for you?
Yeah, I think I do believe that entrepreneurship is some of us are born with it, the entrepreneurial spirit. And I do feel that I had some of that growing up with being involved with organizations and leading them and trying to build them up. I graduated in 2022 with a Bachelor of Science in Native American Studies from Northern Michigan University.
Hmm.
Go Wildcats. And
There we go.
I had worked at an organization, my first job right out of college. I had worked there for 8 months and then I quit.
Ooh,
It
it
was
was not
only
for
eight.
you. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. This working for an organization, having a boss and not being my own boss, I couldn't take it even just 8 months of it. So I quit with no money in my savings.
Hmm.
I will recognize that the cushion that I had was the ability to go sleep on my mom's couch if things really went
There
haywire.
was shelter
Uh,
available.
yeah, yeah, the couch to sleep on and food to eat for sure.
Mhm.
So that gave me a little more confidence. But I started Good Sky Guidance, seeing the need that people want to do well, but they don't know how with Native American people, and
Mhm.
I'm just really excited to be able to do this work today. It's such an honor, and I'm so grateful for it.
It's really needed. I wonder on the tribal community side, what is their experience when you show up and say, here's some business leaders and they're going to build a subdivision or they're planning some road closures and they're changing some things. What is it like to be included? I mean, what is your reception on the tribal community side to that activity?
Yeah, yeah. As I mentioned, the tribes need to be consulted with early and often, especially any changes to the land, especially if it's a culturally important site. But they're willing and eager to have those conversations to both come to an agreement on how we can do these land use changes, how we can build up our communities together. It's just all about identifying our shared values, the things that we both value, and then moving forward from there with the true reciprocal relationship.
Very good. I'm wondering for people outside of North America, this is a question for Liz, the video editor.
Hmm.
How do they understand what you bring from a tribal community knowledge and wisdom and history into questions of leadership and community management if they don't have any experience with Native Americans or being in North America? What is the community building or leadership differences that they could learn?
Hmm. Yeah, the good thing is there's Indigenous peoples everywhere. They're across the globe and willing to engage with you on your projects. I think that, as I mentioned, the community are the stakeholders, and that consultation that you need to do with them. Just go in with a respectful intent, and be willing to learn and be open to making mistakes. You will make mistakes along the way. I make mistakes every day.
Mhm.
Luckily, my clients are still alongside of me. But that is something that's going to happen, but just be willing to adapt and be resilient in those efforts.
It seems that there's a tone of honor and respect that you bring
Hmm.
to these conversations, that there will be differences of opinion. Certainly, there's differences of history and tradition, but that somehow the Venn diagram crossover comes together. There's common ground that's discovered. So, how do you invite people to be honorable and respectful? Do you just sort of set that tone at the first meeting? Because that some business leaders are a little more hard charging.
Hmm.
Than
Hmm.
inclusive, we could say.
Definitely. Yeah, it does take some humility to go into these conversations and be able to take a step back and be ready and willing to learn. I think we have more in common than we think. We kind of have these values that everyone shares. We love our family. We want to take care of them. We love our community. We want to take care of them and protect them.
Mhm,
We love the land that we live on.
mhm.
Let's somehow protect it for future generations to come. Identifying those shared values at the get-go. What do we both believe in? What do we both value? And that can really, really aid a respectful, reciprocal relationship.
Well, it's nice when you go into a project where one of the goals is harmony between everyone involved.
Mm.
That is a different leadership model, but it's exciting that you're bringing it. So I know people can go to your website, goodskyguidance.com.
Yep.
Okay. And they're going to find service offerings there. Share a little bit about speaking engagements that you can do. Of course, liaison work with tribal communities, and then some cultural education with employee populations where that makes sense. But what will they find on your website in terms of service offerings?
For sure. We have a few dedicated service offerings that we offer often to our customers. We're also open to any sort of conversation you want to bring to us that you have a question. This is what you need to happen. We're open to a conversation. But some of the more definitive service offerings that we have are cultural awareness trainings. So those are these kind of interactive, engaging, fun trainings that allow people to understand more about Native American people, what to say, what not to say, how to ethically engage with them, a little bit of the history. We also do public presentations, so I can come to your company, your board meeting, and speak for 45 minutes, for 15 minutes, however long you'd like to listen to me for. Also help out with researchers from academic institutions who are looking to engage with the tribal community and their research, either do research with or on or for these Native American communities, so I can help them along the way.
It's really wonderful to know that there's a resource if you were, building in an area and you just wanted to know what are the features of this land and how has it been managed before I got here? And there are
For
answers
sure.
to those questions with, Indigenous peoples or Native Americans. So
Hmm.
tapping into that wisdom makes so much sense. But we have to know first that you exist.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
possible to reach out to you to get some of these questions answered. So, okay, any final thoughts of wisdom, that you'd like to share about how you are a bridge between two worlds, or how people can use
Yeah.
these areas of wisdom and leadership in their business or in their career?
Yeah, definitely. You just mentioned like the history of the land and how much information there is out there to access. You just need to know where to find it.
Mhm.
But the history of the land and honoring that history of uh, human relationships with that land is really important. Something that's been, I would say, a trend lately, a big thing have been land acknowledgements. And
Oh,
I think land acknowledgements are great, and they do kind of acknowledge the history of the land, the history of
is,
indigenous peoples,
is this
Native
a
American peoples.
proclamation from a city government, or how does a land acknowledgement work?
Yeah, usually a proclamation. It kind of began with universities offering these statements that we recognize the harms that have been committed to indigenous peoples. We are trying to better them actively.
Mhm.
Uh, so that's been happening lately, and Good Sky Guidance does offer land acknowledgement development. Happy to engage with an organization to develop their own unique land acknowledgement.
Mhm.
One requirement, though, that we have in order to do this is we need to develop an action plan along with this acknowledgement.
I see. What are the
Yeah.
components of a common action plan?
Yeah, so how will we go beyond just a land acknowledgement?
Mhm.
Sometimes I offer to companies that it's a good idea to hire a tribal liaison if you work with tribes a lot, a
Mhm.
Native American affairs specialist.
Mhm.
Develop a program where you're consistently educating your company and the people you work with about Native American people.
Mhm.
Um, Other ways you can use your money for good. You can donate to Native American organizations, nonprofits, or even tribes themselves.
Mhm.
Uh, Allocate a certain percentage of your profits to do that every year. It's another great recommendation that I have for companies.
Very good. Well, then it feels like we're working together.
Definitely, yeah, and we always should.
Very good. Well, it's so nice to know, Bazile, that you exist. Good Sky Guidance is out there. And we do need these bridges between
Hmm.
communities. So I'm really happy that you're doing this work. Thank you for doing it. And
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much.
yeah, thanks everybody for watching. And we'll see you next time. Reach out to Good Sky Guidance.
For sure.